All right, fellas, thank you. The two-time defending SEC East champion Florida Gators come into their annual orange and blue debut, hoping to answer some questions concerning the 2017 team. It's a cool, pleasant Friday night here in the Swamp, and fans can't wait to see the new-look Gators, and maybe some of those answers will come their way before the night is over. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Gainesville. Alongside a Bull Gator, former Florida All-American Kevin Carter, I'm Clay Matvick. All right, Kev, you've been in this situation before. These players, there's probably some butterflies here tonight. What are they thinking about?
There are some butterflies, but spring football is the opportunity for them to improve in every sense of the word and figure out who's going to be the guy come fall camp. There's a lot of competition, as you mentioned to me a minute ago. I didn't quite think about that, but a lot of competition to see who's going to emerge and be the guy to contribute in every position on this team come fall camp.
A lot of people looking at quarterback tonight. You know, there have been back-to-back division titles here in Gainesville for the Gators, despite some offensive struggles, and offensive struggles seemingly persisting going into 2017, and they're looking at quarterback here tonight.
They are. Look, Felipe Franks is he is the phenom in the room. I mean, when I walked up to him, he's every bit of 6'6". He has got a big arm. He can make every throw in this offense. Kyle Trask has great feet, and he makes great decisions, but doesn't quite have the wow factor, but he's not going to hurt you as much. Look, Kadarius Toney is an awesome athlete. He gives you that wow factor that thinks he can be someone who, in certain packages, maybe in the red zone, can give you that wildcat look. But in my opinion, Luke Del Rio is still the smartest quarterback in the room.
Unfortunately, we won't see him tonight because he's coming off of shoulder surgery. They've got their top running back, however.
Jordan Scarlett, he's going to be the bell cow of this offense. He's a tough, strong. He's a guy that can really break out this year, in my opinion, and it's going to be because of their offensive line. I think their offensive line is much improved. They're going to pave the way for this young man to do a lot of big things.
And another Florida All-American is down on the sideline tonight as we watch the run out here at the Swamp. Chris Doran getting an eye full. He'll be watching the game from the sidelines here tonight, and we're going to be talking a lot about defense too. Let's go down to Chris, who's with the boss.
Coach, last time we saw you were on the sideline celebrating a big Outback Bowl victory. You closed big time there in the recruiting period. 14 good days of practice. How do you keep the momentum going into the offseason?
Well, I think, this group of guys, they're hungry. We got a lot of new faces, and they're excited about it. But what never gets old is seeing that video and coming out, seeing these guys run out in the swamp. And that's something that's pretty special.
It is pretty special. A lot of talk about filling some holes, none bigger than the quarterback position. What have you told those guys you expect from them tonight?
The biggest thing is just go out and play the game. Don't force anything, but at the same time, go ahead and take the lead. And that's what it's all about. We talk a lot about, look, each and every one of you are responsible for yourselves and what you can do. So let's go out and do it in a Gator way.
Coach, no pressure tonight. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks. It'll be fun.
4 12-minute quarters here tonight. Jim McElwain telling us, though, this week it's going to be very vanilla because he knows Michigan is watching. That'll be their season opening opponent. It's going to be more of a scrimmage than a game at times. Some guys are going to be playing on both sides of the ball here tonight. The third series of the third quarter, too, Kevin. Third team versus third team.
Third team versus third team is a great look right now just because young guys versus young guys. This is their first opportunity for a lot of these players under the lights with some fans in the stands. A lot of these kids were on the sideline and, just in plain clothes in the fall. So they didn't get a chance to play in front of the, this home crowd.
A lot of people watching that guy tonight. There's Felipe Franks, 6'6", 219-pound redshirt freshman. The prized recruit of the 2016 class. Hoping to have a better spring game performance than a season ago. We are going to have a kickoff. Even though all special teams tonight will be no contact, pure simulation.
Yeah, we said that, there actually might be some guys that won't be actually covering kicks come fall. That'll be covering some kicks and vice versa. So a lot of these guys are going to get some conditioning in as they're running down on kickoff tonight.
There's Eddie Pinheiro, junior from Miami. He puts it in the air. Dre Massey, who's in uniform tonight, but still recovering from an ACL. Likely to be the return man in 2017. And now we're going to get our first look at Felipe Franks. Redshirted last year. It's a very good possibility he's the starter come September 2nd at AT&T Stadium against Michigan. He's got a big arm, and he has looked good this spring.
He's looked good. You know, he gives you that wow factor. He can break contain. He saw him yesterday rolling to his left, throwing across his body, throwing at 60 yards down the field to an open Josh Callaway in the end zone. He does the things that really get you excited about the possibility of having a bona fide play caller under center this year for the Gators.
The Orange starts with the ball at the 25, and again, players are going to be playing for both the orange and the blue. It's Jordan Scarlett getting the first carry, the 5'10", 213-pound battering ram. He'll be the feature back for the second year in a row.
I love his talent. He can have the ability to break long runs. He has great speed. We didn't get a chance to really see it a whole lot because the offensive line has been an area of concern for this team. They haven't been able to really just be consistent and get on the same page from a blocking scheme standpoint, but the offensive line coach, Brad Davis, has done a wonderful job thus far this spring.
Yeah, Brad Davis, a rising star. He's the O-line coach at North Texas last year. First pass for Franks, and it's a completion out to the 30-yard line to Ciante Lewis, the tight end.
Ciante Lewis, one of 4 guys at tight end that will contribute this year. He's more of a flexed guy that can line up kind of as kind of a big slot receiver, kind of create a mismatch on that strong safety or linebacker.
There's Brad Davis, the O-line coach. Again, they returned 4 of 5 starters on the O-line. Scarlett, again in the backfield here on a 3rd down and 4. Trey Gouldsby goes in motion. It's Franks dropping back to throw. And that's complete to Brandon Powell for a first down.
Basically, they're going to look for Felipe Franks to make good decisions. You know, you don't want to force the ball. You want to basically take what the defense gives you. They're going with a vanilla look. They're not really doing a whole lot of blitzing, not showing a whole lot of in the secondary. It's going to be a straightforward read for him. It's going to be an opportunity for him to make some good decisions. I mean, you know, he's had some great days in camp, and he's had some not so good days in camp.
He's under center here on first down. Play fake. Sets to throw. Deep ball from Franks. He's got Hammond. Josh Hammond, the sophomore receiver, with a big catch.
This was a great read by the quarterback. Basically, when he got under center, he knew that he had the look that he wanted. He had basically, essentially, a one-on-one look on the outside, an isolation there. This is a great throw over the shoulder, a great completion. This is an awesome throw because he saw that safety inside of the hash, and that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted to create, and that's what he got, and that's why he chose to throw the ball there. It's a great decision by a young quarterback.
46-yard reception for Hammond. You expect a big season from him. 14 catches last year, no touchdowns. He's going to have a bigger role. Here's Franks going to the air again. Took a shot toward Hammond inside the 5, incomplete.
There you see some of those inconsistencies that you guys were talking about with Felipe Franks. Makes a great throw down the sideline to one-on-one coverage, keeping Josh Hammond in bounds, and then that time has him open in the seam, throws the ball a little too hard. Sometimes he gets a little carried away with that arm strength. Take a little off of it, drop it in there to the open receiver. That would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, McElwain and Doug Nussmeier, the offensive coordinator, really anxious to see how he performs here on the big stage. Sure, there are some nerves as it's Scarlett picking his way up the middle. But the only sample, as we talked about, the Gator fans have of Franks prior to tonight, from the time that he got on campus 16 months ago, was the spring game a year ago, and we know how that went. He threw 3 interceptions.
He was so young. That's a lot to ask of a young quarterback in front of this crowd in this stadium. But he looks good tonight thus far. Josh Hammond, going back to him, who had the long reception a minute ago, he's the person, when I spoke to Kerry Dixon, that is going to be the guy that's going to really emerge in that wide receiver group. Here we see Jordan Scarlett ramming his way down towards the end zone. I'm telling you, he does everything well. He runs tough between the tackles, and also he has great explosion. We see him on the zone read here, comes downhill, great cut there, keeps his legs churning, takes a bunch of Gator defenders with him.
That's what he does well. I mean, he just runs people over. He's not going to make a lot of people miss, but he's going to carry tacklers.
He's quick in the hole, you know, very subtle shifts of the hips, gets vertical in a hurry. Very strong, powerful young guy.
And it is Scarlett. That time he's hit in the backfield and dumped. Maybe a loss of 1 on that play for this new look defense, 2 for the Gators. That was Cameron Knight, a guy who just moved over from tight end to linebacker, number 84, making the tackle. Andy Shannon, the new defensive coordinator for Florida. So it'll be 3rd down and goal here for the Orange.
And guys, this is where they need to improve offensively. We talked to Doug Nussmeier, the offensive coordinator, yesterday. The lack of production in the red zone, one of the focal points in the spring. Let's see if this offense can get it in there for 6.
Yeah, last in the SEC last year, only 21 touchdowns and 42 trips. It is Scarlett. And he's going to find his way inside the end zone.
This is what you have to be able to do when you get down within that 3 to 1 yard mark. Right there when you're on the goal line, everyone and their mom knows that you're going to run the football.
Yeah.
The defense knows you're going to run the football, and you have to be able to line up and, plain and simple, run the football down their throat.
Another thing, guys, you know, Chris, I think a lot of the dissatisfaction inside the red zone, just too many turnovers.
Yeah. Well, miscues by the quarterback. Can't, not able to get the ball to the running back, throwing bad passes, bad decisions. That's one of the things that's, been a telltale sign of this Florida offense. If they can do that, if they can do a good job of scoring in the red zone, it'll make a huge difference on their offensive outlook.
Eddie Pinheiro tacks on the extra point as the Orange takes a 7-0 lead. The big play, 46 yards, Franks to Josh Hammond. And then the big man, Jordan Scarlett, pounding it in.
SEC Network Spring Football is brought to you by AT&T.
Back here in Gainesville, Chris Doring, Kevin Carter, Clay Matvick, Orange leading 7-0 over the Blue. And if McElwain can find a quarterback to lead this offense, some believe because of Scarlett and one of the best receiving corps in the SEC that this could be the most complete offense in Florida since Tim Tebow was here 8 years ago. You see it's been a revolving door since 2010 at quarterback.
It really has. They really haven't found that guy to take those snaps and be consistent and from a performance standpoint for the Gator offense. But I think a lot of the success that whoever the quarterback is going to have is going to be predicated on their ability to run the football because of their offensive line. This is the healthiest they've been up front in a long time. And Jordan Scarlett is a talented young man at running back. They're deep at that position. They're deep at tight end. They're deep at receiver. Every position in this offense other than the quarterback position is really talented and has a lot of depth as well.
Well, now we're going to get a look at Kyle Trask, the redshirt freshman from Manville, Texas. Like Franks, redshirted last year. Was 4 for 7 for 63 yards last year in the spring game, the only time fans have seen him as well. So Franks goes 3 for 4 for 56 yards on the opening series, and now we'll see what Trask can do running the Blue offense. He's going to play fake and roll out to his right. Tries to dump it off short to Kimari Gamble, a tight end, rookie tight end out of Miami. He has turned heads this spring, but Trask comes up incomplete. Dawson on the coverage.
Kimari Gamble is one of those 4 tight ends that I mentioned earlier that's going to contribute to this offense. He's sort of a guy that can do both. Both the traditional inline, hand in the dirt tight end, as well as being a move guy, more of the DeAndre Goolsby type.
2nd down and 10. This is Trask handing off. And it's LaMichael Pirine, second leading rusher last year, gets the carry and no gain.
Yeah, number 93, Taven Bryan on that tackle there. I really liked him this spring. Looking at him, his hand placement, his leverage on the football, he does a great job. He's a guy that's going to replace those really talented defensive linemen that Florida's had in the past, in the middle. He's going to step up this year. I really liked watching him practice, like his motor, and he's strong as train smoke.
Yeah. Now the defense has keyed 2 SEC East titles. They lost a lot from last year. There's Trask setting to throw now, flushed out of the pocket on 3rd and 10. He's going to run. And they're going to blow the whistles and avoid the contact. But that's what Trask can do. Pretty athletic guy. Gets 5 yards on that play. It's going to bring up 4th down.
Good interior pressure just a minute ago. I was talking about Taven Bryan, number 93. Kerry Clark also gives you great presence in the center of that defense. We know that Florida has a lot of athletes on the outside of their defense. They have a lot of outside rushers. Antonius Clayton is a name that he's a young guy in this defense, but he could emerge as someone that could really give them pass rush. Of course, we know about CeCe Jefferson and Jabari Zuniga.
Lost 3 D linemen. Caleb Brantley, Joey Ivey, and Brian Cox all gone. To punt, Johnny Townsend. .4:30 to go here in the first quarter. It's 7-0 Orange at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium on this beautiful Friday night in Gainesville. More of the spring game when we come back. More spring football for you Saturday tomorrow here on the SEC ESPN Network. First at noon, Ole Miss kicking off. Ole Miss looking to bounce back from a tough year. Then at 2, it's Auburn's A-Day at Jordan-Hare. Finally at 4, Mississippi State's maroon-white spring game from Davis-Wade Stadium. You know, Ole Miss, who's going to replace Chad Kelly? That's the big question. Is Jarrett Stidham the answer, quarterback at Auburn? Nick Fitzgerald looking to build on a record-setting 2016. So Florida, not the only place that has quarterback questions.
Look, that's the most important position on the field in most people's opinion. I mean, he touches the ball every play and oftentimes the leader of your team. So that's your person that has to be the leader, has to be the most consistent performer and under the most scrutiny.
Here's Mark Thompson with a catch out of the backfield. Good to see him out there. We didn't know if we would. He's been dealing with a thigh bruise. He's going into his 2nd year in the program out of JC in the Florida backfield.
Mark Thompson provides a lot of depth along with Michael Perrine and behind Jordan Scarlett as well. This is a group that has 3 or 4 guys that can carry the load at running back. And it's good to have that kind of depth because, look, running backs, they take a pounding, especially in this league.
It's going to bring up 2nd down and 7 for the Orange team. Felipe Franks, 4 of 5 passing so far, 58 yards. Again, we're not going to see Luke Del Rio tonight, recovering from off-season shoulder issues. It's Mark Thompson again. He'll get a yard, maybe a yard and a half. A lot of coaching changes for the Florida staff. The biggest move in the offseason, the promotion of Randy Shannon. Replaces Jeff Collins as defensive coordinator. Collins left to be the head coach at Temple after 2 solid years at Florida. How's the defense going to be different under Shannon? You know,
the one thing about Randy Shannon that I really like from talking to him is how he's able to cut through with the terminology and bringing a young, relatively young defense up to speed in terms of learning everything they have to learn. Jeff Collins installed a very complicated, very good defense, but you have to cut through a lot of terminology and teach a lot of coverages and teach a lot of things that a lot of younger players, find it hard to pick up. He does a great job of just cutting through the terminology and really simplifying it and making it easy for these young guys to pick up.
Shannon's going to like that play by Clayton there.
Guys, we had an opportunity to sit down with all the head coach yesterday and both coordinators, but I think my favorite time spent yesterday was talking to Randy Shannon. The way that, to expound on what you said, Kevin, the way that he teaches, the way that he uses that terminology, as you mentioned, the way that he taught his entire blocking schemes so they have a better understanding of how to play the game so they can react, not have to think out there. The guy certainly very well be a teacher in the
Now we've lost Chris's mic, unfortunately, as Johnny Townsend punts. 57-yard kick for Townsend, who broke a program record with 48 yards per punt last year. Here you see the coaching changes. Shannon, now the defensive coordinator. Corey Bell left South Florida to be the defensive backs coach here at Florida. Brad Davis, who we talked about earlier. Jaywan Cedar. Jaywan Sider, pardon me, left West Virginia to be the running backs coach, and Tim Skipper now coaching the linebackers.
Brad Davis has great energy in the room for the offensive line. I really enjoyed my time sitting in on their meeting because he realizes that this group has the talent to do great things and pave the way and really do a great job protecting whoever's a quarterback for the Gators. But it's going to start up front with that offensive line, pushing people around and making that second and third down more manageable for the quarterback, whoever it is. You know, that's the key. If you can get those yards early on those downs and make second and third down more manageable, that's the job of your offensive line.
Well, 9 offensive starters back from a team that ranked last in the SEC in yards per game, rushing yards per game, and yards per play, as Kyle Trask is out there running the offense again. So a lot of room for improvement on this side of the ball, as we've been talking about, and as you've alluded to, it all starts with quarterback.
A lot of eyes on the quarterback, but I'm an old school guy and I'm a defensive lineman by trade. It's going to start up front. That offensive line can take a lot of pressure off of whoever's playing quarterback if they can protect him and give him time to throw and make good decisions, but also, like I said, make second and third down more manageable by getting the early yards on the ground.
There's Pirine with the catch as Trask dumps it off short. And the offensive line, 4 of the 5 starters back. They're going to need 9 solid offensive linemen. They really like TJ McCoy in the middle. He's been solidifying the center position. He started the last 4 games of 2016 when Cam Dillard got hurt.
TJ McCoy, son of Tony McCoy. Tony McCoy was the emotional heart. He was the emotional leader of the team when I got here in 1991. I remember he staying out in front of practice every day, and he said, "I'm 6'2", I'm 290 pounds, and I ain't scared of nothing." And he led us. He was the guy that just got us going every day. And TJ has kind of picked up the torch where his father left off. You can tell in the way he plays football. You can tell that he loves it and plays really spirited. He's a good leader for this group.
Well, that's the first blue first down as Trask. His first completion. That was Charles Nordman on that reception out to the 33-yard line. First down and 10 for the blue. Straight drop back for Trask. In trouble, ball comes out, and he's able to recover. What happened there, Kevin?
Pressure on the corner from C.C. Jefferson around the corner. Oh. There we go. Pressure from both ends. Both ends, C.C. Jefferson on the outside and Jabari Zuniga both closing in. That's what we talked about. They have a lot of talent on the outside rush spot for the Gators. This is what they do, a great job of getting pressure on the quarterback. The offensive line's got to get theirself to defend on the corner, protect the quarterback on them.
Well, that's the end of the first quarter here in Gainesville. Things moving quickly. Orange leading 7-0 after 1. The 4th-ranked Florida Gators softball team at home this weekend here in Gainesville as well, taking on Georgia. We're going to have it for you on Sunday, 7 Eastern. That's game 2 of the 3-game series. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern right here on the SEC ESPN network. Well, the Florida Gators football schedule for 2017 is a tough one. It starts with the Advocare Classic at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. It's been on the schedule since 2013. It'll be the first regular season matchup between Michigan and Florida. The first meeting since the Citrus Bowl 2 seasons ago when Michigan blew out Florida. Also on the schedule, at home with Tennessee. The Vols, of course, among the favorites in the SEC East. They're going to host Texas A&M. The Aggies' first trip to Gainesville since 1962. And Georgia. That game, of course, in Jacksonville. Jacob Eason threw for 2,400 yards last year as a true freshman. Yeah. The Bulldogs look good, too. That could go a long way to deciding the SEC East.
The Bulldogs know who their quarterback is.
There's a pass that's incomplete. The hands of Kyle Trask knocked down. Jim McElwain knows that schedule is tough. And don't think for a second he doesn't remember that last time he faced Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines. 4 conference home games. Only team in the SEC to play just 3 road games. First time since '87 not opening the season at home. When you look at the schedule, what stands out the most to you?
How they open it. I mean, Michigan, come on. I love those types of games. I'm in huge favor of playing those types of games between conference to conference. It gives us a gauge early on just to see how far these teams have come, and who better than the Eastern Division winner versus one of the better teams in the Big Ten.
And Kev, how about the home schedule next year? You got Texas A&M at home, you got Tennessee at home,
LSU,
you got Florida State, and you get that LSU. Not only you gave that one up last year, you got the victory on the road, but you get them to come back here. If you're a season ticket holder, this is the year that you rejoice about that home schedule.
And on November 25th, they'll host Florida State. Haven't beat the Seminoles since 2012. Second punt. And Tommy Townsend calls for the fair catch. Is Dre Massey. 48-yard punt. Under Jim McElwain, you can see what Florida has done. They've been almost unbeatable here at home. And again, the offense hasn't been sterling. The 2 SEC East titles, without a doubt, have been spurred by the defense.
They have been, and that's, in my book, that's very encouraging. I think the Gator fans would beg to differ. They want to see high-flying offense, but to me, the true mark of a good head coach is being able to manage personalities and find a way to win. Jim McElwain has known what he's had. He's had a great defense, and he's been banged up along the offensive line, and he hasn't had consistent play out of the quarterback position. Now, he seemingly has everything in place outside of the quarterback. Got to still have to disseminate who's going to take the snaps.
Play fake, Felipe Franks. Incomplete. Trying to hit Keontae Lewis again.
Not a bad decision to get rid of the football there. I mean, he threw it as to where only the receiver could get to it, had pressure in his face. Don't take the sack, get rid of the football.
And Jeremiah Moon, the Sam linebacker, was in the coverage there. Well, they like him. But Felipe Franks so far, 4 of 6, 58 yards. Do you see that he's got a better understanding of this offense? I know it's early and it's just a small sample size, but that was a real problem for him last year.
You know, sometimes, the stage gets big and, the defenses can be overwhelming, and the looks that they're giving you, you have to basically start small. Small wins is how you create big wins. And that's what Doug Nussmeier has really been trying to get him to see, and get all of his quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, to see, is that they don't have to hit the home run every time they drop back to pass. They just have to manage the game, and the defense will make mistakes. They will be out of position. And when you see that safety drifting inside of the hash and you're trying to create that look like on the last drive, you get the ball, you throw it where it needs to be thrown, and you get the big play to Hammond.
And Kevin, you made a good point right there. Manage the game. A lot of people criticize Alabama for having a game manager at quarterback for so many years. This team is going to have more offensive weapons than they've had in a long time. Just get the ball in their hands. Let them make plays. You don't have to shoulder the load yourself. Whether you're Kyle Trask or Felipe Franks, get the ball out of your hand. Let them make plays.
And here's the completion he just threw to Brandon Powell.
This is a good decision here on the shallow cross. You see Brandon Powell get the ball in one of your playmakers' hands. Let him run for the first down. You move the chains.
9 yards and a first down. Out to the 34-yard line. Felipe Franks, leading candidate right now to be the starting quarterback in the fall, running the offense. Hands it off. This is Scarlett.
Jordan Scarlett, he chips and he chips and he chips away. Someone misses an arm tackle and he goes for another first down. This is the type of running back he is. He can wear defenses down if that offensive line will perform.
Is there going to be more pressure on him if it is a freshman quarterback in the fall?
I'm not quite sure. I think that, the pressure necessarily is going to be on the offensive line.
Yeah.
They do their job, he'll do his job, and everyone will work out and do well together.
So after the first down, offense out to the 44-yard line. Franks is going to sneak up under center. Looking to throw. Comes over the middle. It's complete. There's Powell again. And the offense into plus territory. Gets out close to the 35-yard line. That's a pickup of 21 yards. Luke Del Rio will compete for the job again in the fall. However, for some reason, Kevin, it just feels like he carries very little credit despite going 5-1 as the starter last year. He's coming off of 2 shoulder surgeries.
It's really been out of sight, out of mind. I mean, they've fallen out of love with him so quickly, and I really don't understand why. Maybe it's because of the wow factor that we get from looking at a quarterback like Felipe Franks, or the possibility of having someone like Kyle Trask step in.
Appleby and Del Rio shared the job last year. Del Rio just couldn't stay healthy. This is Antonio Callaway hurtling near the sideline after the big catch. That's a gain of 15 for Antonio Callaway, his first spring practice since coming to Florida. No distractions this year.
But good movement in the pocket by the quarterback. This is what he can do to buy himself time, make plays with his feet, gets the ball one of his playmakers' hands, and again, you move the chains, you minimize the damage, you manage the game. This is what you want a young quarterback to do. You don't have to hit the home run every time. You just have to manage the game and take what the defense gives you.
Just hurdled the backup corner, Eddie Giles. This is LaMichael Pirine. Inside the 20, down to about the 16-yard line for Pirine.
Kev, you said in the open that your money is still on Del Rio at least being in the mix, if not being the guy. Everybody forgets this guy was 5-1 as a starter last year when he was healthy. Doug Nussmeier said he played at a high level. The problem was after that knee injury, just never felt comfortable in the pocket. And then the shoulder injury, clearly they were not aware of how bad it was until that Arkansas game. But I think once he gets back healthy, his knowledge of this offense, his comfort playing it in the past will make him a factor as this thing comes down to the wire next year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know that Luke Del Rio will be dialed in and ready to compete for their job. Deep handoff here to Pirine again. And this is going to get down to the 11-yard line. Can I throw a wild card in there, guys? I mean, Malik Zaire could be the wild card in this quarterback sweepstakes. The former Notre Dame quarterback announced in November his intention to join another program as a grad transfer. It could be Florida. Now, some things working against the Gators. If a grad transfer fails a class, it's a 3-year wait until a team can take another grad transfer. That's the situation for Florida going back to 2015. But there's some rumor that that rule may change in time for a guy like Zaire to come to Florida.
That is indeed a wild card, because if he comes into the mix, you're talking about a whole new level of athleticism, but also experience coming possibly under center for the Gator offense. He gives you a whole different, he just complicates the entire matter as far as quarterback this fall for the Gators if he gets thrown into the mix.
Problem is, though, that rule is a Southeastern Conference rule. It doesn't apply to any of the Power 5, other Power 5 conferences. Greg Sankey's kind of let it be known that he doesn't have any intention of changing that rule. And if it is changed, it won't happen until May. Very well, Malik Zaire could make a decision prior to that. So while that could be a possibility, I'm voting at least for it to be doubtful at best.
Yeah, Zaire said he wants to have a decision made by mid-April. So, yeah, time could be a factor. That's dumped off to Brandon Powell, who's had a busy first half here. That's going to be incomplete, however. Bring up 2nd down and goal. Here we are in the red zone again, guys. And this is where the Gators' Achilles heel offensively was for the lion's share of the year.
A lot of turnovers, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of balls on the turf, a lot of balls being thrown to the other team. Not really good in the red zone for the Gators in the last couple of seasons, especially last year. But this is where they have to improve. Nussmeier says that this is an area that they really work a lot on in situational drills in practice.
Pirine bangs it to the 3, maybe the 2.5-yard line. 3rd down and goal coming up as we close in on 3 minutes to go here in the first half. This will be the 12th play of the drive coming up. Rushing under 1,700 total yards last year, last in the SEC. A big focus to improve this coming year.
There's that synergy between the running back and the offensive line. Michael Pirine, he gives depth to that running back position. But down here in the red zone, you've got to pound the football. You've got to get it close and give yourself options. If you can run the football, you put a lot of pressure on the defense to have to defend you.
Felipe Franks going to the end zone. Incomplete. And that was Powell that he was shooting for as we Look at Doug Nussmeier. You can see he's aggravated there because they stalled out in the red zone again.
Good decisions, bad decisions. That was the right decision by the quarterback. He just couldn't get the ball to the receiver. Couldn't stick it on him. Good defense. I mean, you know, you have to credit the defense for making a play on the football. But again, they come up empty-handed, going to look to kick the field goal.
Here's Eddie Pinheiro, 21 of 25 last year with a long of 54. This will be from 21. He made 12 straight to end the season last year. He's good here to make it 10-0 Orange. But you can see Jim McElwain talking with his redshirt freshman quarterback, Felipe Franks. Still a lot of teaching going on, especially at that quarterback spot. Play drive for the Orange, but they stall out in the red zone, settled for a field goal. It's 10-0. Let's go down to Chris quick.
Now, Coach, we talked to you yesterday. You mentioned a point of emphasis this spring was improving in the red zone. Some struggles down there so far. What have you seen in that part of the field?
Yeah, you know, we punched one in, but this one we should have been punched in. We just missed 2 throws, you know, and yet that's all part of it. You know, we got to be accurate with the throws. Good call. Got a guy open. Just put it on his body.
Guys noted earlier you were getting on Doug Nussmeier, your offensive coordinator, a little bit. What was that about?
I think probably just telling him we're going to go 2 minutes. I don't think I was getting on him about anything.
They're giving me a little chewing up there in the box here. Wanted to find out the inside information. So we're going to go 2 minute here.
You want a little inside information?
Yeah, a little bit?
Told him to get it in the end zone. How's that?
All right. Good insight here from the coach. We appreciate it. Back to you guys.
All right. Yeah, Jim said this was going to be more like a glorified practice than a game at times. So this will be a 2 minute drill here for the final couple minutes of the first half. Again, there's Dre Massey, number 9. It's unfortunate we're not able to see him in full flavor here tonight. The transfer from Holmes Community College, injured on the opening kickoff of the season opener last year. And he could have a big role in the offense here in 2017. So Kyle Trask is going to bring the offense out. 2 minute drill. What do you expect to see here for the Gators before halftime?
I'm going to see if they can actually make the right decisions on offense to manage the clock. You know, this is a challenge for any offense, but especially for a young quarterback to make the right decisions. Usually the first play of a 2 minute drill is either a draw or screen. Get the ball out of the hands, get the clock rolling.
Trask 2 for 4 passing. Sets up, throws over the middle, tipped, and nearly intercepted. That was Christian Garcia, the middle linebacker, who almost picked it off. David Reese out for the spring with a wrist injury. Garcia battling for playing time at linebacker.
Christian Garcia got the start in the Outback Bowl. He's a former walk-on, really talented young man. Did a great job filling in for those injuries. This is what you get when you have guys that get injured down the stretch of the season. You get a chance to get a look at other guys that can give you help. Christian Garcia is one of those guys that's helped out a lot at the linebacker position.
They stop the clock here during this 2 minute exercise so they can work on this drill. Ball comes out after the handoff, and it's a turnover.
Not what you want to see in a 2 minute situation. Miscues, quarterback to running back exchange. This is supposed to be sort of a quick handoff.
That was Mark Thompson, the running back, who lost it, and Duke Dawson, the cornerback, who's looking to win a starting spot at that position, who recovers.
Opportunistic, Johnny on the spot. Duke Dawson does a great job of coming up. He has corner force on that play. Does a great job of scooping the ball that's on the turf. But again, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Kevin. I was going to say, remember last year what got Mark Thompson in the doghouse was his inability to hold on to the football. They wanted him to be more consistent this year. That time he didn't even get hit, puts the football on the ground. We'll have to see how his reps may diminish here in the second half because of that.
So now the Orange takes over at the 22-yard line. They're going to run the 2 minute offense here. First down and 10. Jordan Scarlett in the backfield with Felipe Franks running the Orange offense. Low snap, pulls it up. Cox's arm and fires incomplete to Scarlett out of the backfield. So far, this 2 minute offense on both sides struggling a little bit offensively.
That's a situation where you have to put the ball on his body. Coach McElwain just mentioned it a minute ago. Had guys open, and that time he had Jordan Scarlett open in the flat. Have to put the ball on his body, allow him to get out of bounds and stop the clock. Has him wide open in the flat. All he has to do was put the ball in his body and lead him out of bounds. This could have been a positive momentum play, but it doesn't hurt you because an incomplete pass stops the clock.
2nd and 10, they go back to Scarlett. Scarlett now 8 carries, about 40 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. That's a gain of 6. The junior out of Fort Lauderdale. 3rd down and 4.
You've got to be aware of the run in a 2-minute situation. You know, you're expecting pass, you're kind of sitting back, kind of playing coverage, but up front, one of the hardest things to do as a defensive line is rush the passer and play the run in this situation.
Here's Felipe Franks to the end zone, man open, touchdown. Antonio Callaway, a guy that they think could have an amazing fall with a 16-yard touchdown catch.
This was a pre-snap read. He's basically looking at this linebacker underneath to see if he runs with Antonio Callaway. He doesn't. He stops on the short route onto Brandon Powell. He does a great job of squeezing the ball into Antonio Callaway in the end zone. That's a great look by the quarterback here.
Yeah, Kevin, that was a great job of being patient. You know, he used his eyes to dictate where the coverage was going, looked at Callaway, or looked in the flat there, moved the underneath coverage, as you mentioned, and then dropped it in nicely to Callaway. Didn't try to throw the ball too hard. He had him wide open, fit it in nicely. Good throw and catch there for the Gator offense.
And Pinheiro with the extra point. So the Orange with a 3-play, 22-yard touchdown drive. Callaway with the catch, as the Orange team takes advantage of a turnover by the Blue. It's 17-0. Right after this Florida spring game tonight, Peter Burns and Marcus Spears will join you from the studio for SEC Now. We're going to recap our spring football action, plus have full breakdowns of tonight's softball and baseball from around the league. That's tonight, right after we're done here in Gainesville. Clay Matvick, Kevin Carter, Chris Doring. I'm the only one who wasn't an All-American here at Florida on this crew tonight. There's Trask, 2 for 5, 11 yards passing. It hasn't been great for him. Felipe Franks, it's been all right. Franks with a touchdown catch to Callaway moments ago. Let's go back to January 2nd. Austin Appleby was the starting quarterback at that time. He has graduated now. 222 yards, couple of touchdowns, and defensively it was a big day for Chauncey Gardner against the Hawkeyes. 2 fourth-quarter picks, including a 58-yard pick six. 30-3 was the final. McElwain got doused. 9 wins on the year. Chauncey Gardner, the converted safety, really starting to get it now at corner, Kevin.
Randy Shannon really high on this young man. I sat in on the defensive meetings and was really impressed with how much he's picked up and how hard this young man plays. You know, one of those guys is going to be a talker. He's going to make sure that you know he's there, but he backs it up with how hard he plays and the fact that he just makes plays. You saw him there, 2 interceptions in the Outback Bowl, 1 return for a touchdown. He is Johnny on the spot because he hustles, he plays hard, and he's always where he's supposed to be.
You know, one of the things about Chauncey Gardner, remember last year he had to play safety because of injuries at that position. Randy Shannon told us yesterday that actually benefited him in his growth, now moving back to his normal, more comfortable position at corner. But I think that was kind of a little blessing in disguise, getting a chance to play back there and seeing it from a different perspective last year.
There's another drop ball. That was Mark Thompson again, who can't hold on to that pass from Trask.
Kerry Clark, accurate there on the tackle. Guys, great pursuit to the ball. This defense continues to impress. The way they pursue to the ball and the way that they sniff out, saw sniffing out the screen then. This defense, look, there are a lot of names that you don't know up front, especially all over this defense. but they follow suit because they've played with a lot of great players on this defense over the years.
The junior defensive tackle, Kerry Clark, Randy Shannon, says he's starting to emerge. Defensive end, Jordan Sherritt, who started last year, still recovering from offseason knee surgery, not playing tonight. That pass to the sideline, incomplete. Marcel Harris, the top returning tackler, in on the coverage from his safety spot. They're going to need Harris to lead 2 on the defense.
Marcel Harris is the son of Mike Harris. I played with him in Florida. Marcel was the leading tackler on this defense a year ago. A sure tackler, great in space, great instincts, great ball skills. And you see him there, always where he's supposed to be. Safety is one of those positions that you cannot afford to be out of position because the quarterbacks are looking to see whenever the safeties are misaligned to take advantage of throwing the ball downfield.
Tommy Townsend with the punt. 55 yards on that kick. There's Massey again on the return in simulation. Now I want to tee up on a guy here. Jabari Zuniga, defensive end. We heard Marcus Spears in studio before the game with Peter Burns talking about how he wants to see Zuniga tonight and he thinks he's going to have a big year in 2017. Physically a late bloomer, but now he's up to 6'3", 245 pounds. He could be a factor off the edge for the Gators this year.
He led the Gators in sacks a season ago, and that's saying a lot. They had a very talented defense for the last 2 years, but Zuniga has really emerged as a guy who can put pressure and win one-on-one and get pressure off the edge. That's going to be key. They have a lot of guys that can fill kind of in the middle of this defense, but you have to get edge pressure, and you have to, in those third and long situations, in those situations where it's a 2-minute situation, you have a chance to change the game, make those game-changing, drive-stopping plays. It's usually done from the outside rush position.
Well, the official nearly got that one incomplete, intended for Josh Hammond.
Kev, I thought it was interesting yesterday when we talked to Randy Shannon. He talked about that defensive line position and putting the best 4 players on the field. How difficult is it, from your experience, being an outside rusher and then having to move inside and make that adjustment against a little different blocking scheme?
You know, that's where I think Randy Shannon is really winning as far as the way he's teaching this defense. And I didn't really learn this and understand this until I got to the NFL. It's all the same, whether it's a guard or a tackle, wherever you're lined up, it's all the same. You make a base call, you get moving in a direction, and you simply put your hand in the dirt and go. That's the good thing about this. A lot of offenses aren't going to know what to make of this defense when they see 3 true defensive ends and maybe an inside guy, up on the line of scrimmage. I think it's a great look for the Florida defense, and it's a telltale sign of versatility that really gives a lot of teams a lot of trouble.
D-line coach Chris Rumpf has a lot to work with. They lost some guys, as we talked about, but they've got some guys coming back that can be impact players in the SEC without a doubt. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of the first half. The orange and blue debut 2017. Franks 8 for 14, 119 yards and a touchdown passing in the first half. I think so far so good for Felipe Franks. Meanwhile, Kyle Trask 2 for 8, 11 yards, and at times just did not look comfortable in the pocket, Kevin.
You want to see a little bit more out of a young quarterback, but the night is still young.
ESPN College Football National Recruiting Coordinator Craig Hobber. We'll talk to you after this timeout. Halftime of the Florida spring game. Clay Matvick, Kevin Carter back upstairs. And, one of the biggest questions surrounding this football team going into 2017, Kevin, the quarterback spot. First half, Felipe Franks looked pretty good. Not so much so for Kyle Trask, but Franks 8 for 14, 119, and a touchdown pass.
Patient in the pocket, making good decisions. You see him on the long completion to Josh Hammond there. Getting the ball in his playmaker's hands, not trying to do too much, not trying to always hit the home run, but great movement in the pocket, dumps the ball off again, and Callaway makes plays for you. Your guys will do this when you're able to be patient and make the right decision in the pocket.
Here are the numbers on both, and you can see Trask 2 of 8, just 11 yards on his defense. didn't get a lot of first-team reps this spring. Franks was getting more of those, and that's a factor.
It is a factor. I mean, look, who you're working with, the chemistry and the collective football IQ. If you got a bunch of young guys that haven't played a lot of football around you, and you're kind of the one who's having to lead them along, as opposed to Felipe Franks, who's got a chance to run with more experienced guys around him, it makes a difference. You know, the offensive line's come along, but it makes a difference who you got playing with.
Still have a second half to come your way from the Swamp. 17-0 Orange in the Florida Spring Game. Back in a moment. A guy that hasn't played a lot of reps at quarterback, and he's vying for the starting job here in 2017. That's kicked out of bounds. As we get underway here in the third quarter, it's going to be a little loosey-goosey here in the third quarter. In fact, third series of the third quarter, it's going to be third team versus third team. So we're going to see a lot of different faces out on the field. But Kyle Trask will lead the offense out here after a 2-for-8, 11-yard first half.
Well, that's part of the competition that we talked about in spring football that you get. You know, when you have young guys going against young guys, someone has to emerge. It gives them the opportunity to show what they can do.
Trask away from center. He'll hand it off. And Mark Thompson has seen a lot of time here tonight. Running back, senior out of Lamont, Pennsylvania. We didn't think we'd even see him at all because of a thigh bruise that he suffered here in spring practice. 68 carries, 299 yards, and a couple of touchdowns on the season. Scarlett, without a doubt, is going to be, as you put it, the bell cow. We've seen quite a bit of LaMichael Pirine in the backfield tonight. Two freshman running backs come in over the summer. Darius Lemons, Malik Davis from that 2017 recruiting class of Jim McElwain. Second down and 7 for the Blue. Trying to get something going. Held off the board so far. Penalty flag down. There's a batted ball in the secondary.
Somebody was offsides. Someone's in the neutral zone there. The line judge throwing his flag.
C.C. Jefferson.
C.C. Jefferson, great get off, but maybe a little bit too good a get off there as he gets called for getting off in the neutral zone. That'll get you flagged 5 yards. Keep the chains moving for the offense.
Not counting special teams, that's our first flag of the game. Ken Williamson, our referee from the SEC.
He talked about Mark Thompson, you know, being the kind of third in line. He's going to have a couple of young running backs coming in this fall to contend with. This is also what spring is about. You know, you've got to earn your keep. You got to show that you belong in that rotation.
Trask deep down the right sideline, coverage, adjusting to the football, but not able to come up with it. Who is that? It's hard to tell.
It's a good adjustment by the receiver, trying to go up and get the ball behind the defender. Kind of a little bit underthrown, but that's where the receiver makes the adjustment and has to come up with that catch.
Pretty good coverage in the secondary. Marcel Harris, number 26.
Hard to defend the back shoulder or possibly underthrown ball for the defensive back. And dropping the ball in there, but you got to make that play as a receiver.
Dawson may have been banged up. That would be bad news if it's a serious injury. Dawson led the Gators with 7 pass breakups as a junior last year. He considered leaving for the NFL. His return, a big coup for Florida. We've got a timeout called by the Orange. 17-0, Orange on top here in the third quarter. Well, it appears that Duke Dawson is going to return to the field. He was shaken up on that last play, but he's got his helmet back on. Now, surprisingly, after you look at this long list, it's hard for me to say this, but believe it or not, injuries have been held to a minimum during the spring. Now, they do have some injuries that they're dealing with from last season carrying over into the spring. You can see Luke Del Rio, who we talked about, Dre Massey, Sherrod on the D-line. There's some guys that are out as Thompson gets another carry. And that's only the second first down for the blue team. But hopefully most of these guys are going to be fixed up before fall.
Most of them are going to be. David Reese is kind of the guy at linebacker who's going to be the starting middle linebacker. We look down the list. We see Jordan Sherritt as well. You know, he's someone who contributed at a defensive end. You know, these are guys that are going to be contributors come the fall. And a lot of these injuries, like you said, are carryover from last season. They aren't recent injuries.
We've seen Massey back in the return game today. They're keeping him away from contact. Again, recovering from an ACL, but they expect him to be a factor in the wide receiver corps as they continue to run the ball here with Thompson. And again, Luke Del Rio on the sideline. 2 shoulder surgeries. Also had a knee injury last year in week 3 of the season here against North Texas.
Wasn't quite the same when he tried to come back from those injuries. He felt the rush a little bit in the pocket. You know, having a healthy Luke Del Rio should shake things up as far as the quarterback race come fall practice.
Brent Hagee, who started at left guard here earlier tonight, has moved to center on a 2nd down and 5. Trask is in trouble, and he would have been sacked there. And he continues to have trouble with the pressure.
Luke Ankrum there on the pressure. Great get off. Kind of a miscue there, a misassignment. The offensive line's turning one way and they just let him go. That's a great way to make a play if you're a defensive lineman. We love not being blocked.
Brett Hagee, you talked about him being at center now. He's their starting right guard as well, a guy that was a freshman last year. Really provides a little versatility for this offensive line, and he really secures the middle of that offensive line. It's going to be a nice addition next to T.J. McCoy this year at guard, but comforting to know he can move to center as well.
Got to have some versatility up front. You guys talked about the versatility on the defensive front. They need it on the offensive line, too. Trask off his back foot, dumps it off short, caught, and across the 50 into plus territory. Still on his feet is Mark Thompson. First time in orange territory tonight for the blue team as Thompson makes a catch out of the backfield.
This is great action by the quarterback, Trask. He's really patient, getting the ball out to Mark Thompson in space. The offensive line does a great job blocking downfield. One cut, and he accelerates and gets upfield in a hurry.
And there's Kyle Trask showing a little positive emotion.
Yeah. Hey, hasn't been going so well for him thus far tonight. This is getting a little bit of juice going on this drive. Maybe he can get something positive going. Crossing midfield for the first time.
3rd completion for Kyle Trask tonight as LaMichael Pirine checks into the backfield. They'll fake the handoff to him. Trask setting up to throw again. Another deep ball for Kyle Trask to the end zone this time. Incomplete into double coverage. And that was Josh Hammond, the intended passer, believe it or not. You can't see the number, but it was number 10 down there, the intended receiver.
Got safety help over the top there. Duke Dawson doing a great job. Got his wrist nice and wrapped up there. Seems like he's got a thumb, something going on there, but able to still get down the field and defend against the long pass. Like he said, he has, yeah, there he is. Yeah, that left thumb there seems to be a little bit out of whack, but he's still getting it done, able to defend down the field.
That's a position to watch. Duke Dawson moving from inside. He was at nickel last year, now playing outside. Victimized a couple times in the big game against Tennessee last year. So how able is he to kind of adjust from that inside position, now going against the top receiver potentially on the outside for the opponents this season?
You know, and another thing, fellas, to keep in mind when you talk about that secondary, there are going to be 6 freshman defensive backs who joined the team this summer. How much do you guys expect the rookies to help here? We'll start with you, Chris.
I think they're going to have to help a lot. You got 6 guys coming in that secondary. Really lost a lot, particularly on the corners with Wilson and Tabor. Guys are going to have to step up, but not only do you need guys that can start, the depth. Last year, Florida lost a ton, particularly at the safety position. So guys got to come in and acclimate quickly and be ready to play.
3rd down and 11 here. Trask to throw. And that's tipped and intercepted. Picked up by Voshan Joseph, the weak side linebacker.
Quarterbacks' 2 worst enemies are tips and overthrows. They usually lead to interceptions. The ball tipped there, not yet necessarily the quarterback's fault, but any kind of ball in the air, defenders are closing in on that ball. Great heads-up play by the defender. See it get tipped there. See Voshan Joseph Johnny on the spot. This is what pursuing to the ball will do. They talked about this in the defensive meeting room, pursuing to the football. You make plays when you have defenders going to the football.
And Kevin, that was Duke Dawson right there. He read the play, and we talked about it earlier. Randy Shannon teaching his guys the blocking scheme. That time he recognized a little bit of a bootleg outside, knowing that crossing route's going to come his way, just kind of sat and waited, broke on it, didn't get the interception, but tipped it up and allowed Voshon Joseph to make the play.
That's the second blue turnover. And Kyle Trask is going to stay out there as we go to the other side. And that defensive back conversation, will continue with that. And the 6 freshmen coming in. Trask rolling out. And has a man wide open. That's Brandon Powell. Let's go back to the defensive backs and let's get your opinion on what these rookies can do in that secondary.
Look, there's been some discussion, especially when we're in studio, Chris and I arguing with Booger about, what's the real DBU? Is it LSU or is it Florida? Having guys leave early to the NFL is great for recruiting, but it's bad in terms of losing stars on your defense. So I agree with you, Chris. I think some of these young defensive backs are going to have to play this fall coming in for the Gators.
There's Antonio Callaway with a big play. Well, that's a gain of 20. Guess who showed up into the booth here, Kevin? You're in trouble now. You didn't see him sneak in here behind you.
The head ball coach.
Your old boss, Steve Spurrier. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, Clay, glad to be with you here. The ball game is going decent at times. Kyle Trask has struggled a little bit, but he's made a couple of good throws here lately.
As a former coach, what do you look for most in these spring games?
Well, when I was coaching, we didn't allow the defense to do all the things our defense is doing today. We made them just rush forward, play maybe a 3-deep zone and man-to-man. So the Florida defense is using some stunts, and they're playing ball tonight.
Well, that's no fun, Coach, if you can't, game it up front and kind of get some pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, you're supposed to allow the quarterback to throw in these games and hopefully get some guys open. Felipe's had a good one. Thompson's a good big back.
And there is Thompson with a good run. The old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, stopping by the booth, and we're glad that you did.
Okay.
A lot of fun out here for these kids during the spring.
Yeah, the spring game is supposed to be fun and not all that competitive, but the defense is they're playing a lot of different coverages and stunting around, so it makes it a little more difficult for the offense. But I think the offense has improved a lot this year. The O-line is it has some emotion. They're knocking guys backwards a lot better than I think we did last year.
Trask didn't have a great first half, Coach, but now we're seeing him move the ball. He's with the ones, and that's got to help things.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was going against the first-team defense the first half, and now maybe he's going against the other guys with maybe the first-team offense, right? But anyway, I was thinking, Kevin, so many games, every time I see one of my former players, the first play, we're playing Tennessee here, his freshman year, big game, whoever wins it's leading and going to win maybe the SEC that year. And Kevin hit the quarterback in the fourth quarter. Larry Kennedy picked it off and scored.
Took it all the way.
Took it all the way for 35-18. And a lot of Gators said that was one of the loudest moments ever here in the swamp. We had some loud ones, but with Kevin here, that was one of my fondest memories right there.
We had 2 true freshmen starting that game, myself and Larry Kennedy. That was a great night indeed.
That was a loud night when that happened. And Tennessee had beaten us 45-3 the year before. So, and they had a heck of a team both those years, 90-91.
Another one of your former players is down on the field, Chris Doring.
Hey, Coach, haven't had a lot of success throwing the football in the last couple years, but this receiving core looks like some of those that we had back in the day. Who was one of your favorites after watching the spring this year?
Well, I liked Antonio Callaway last year a lot, and Cleveland, Tyrese does a good job there, and of course Massey does a excellent job. Yeah, I wish we could get more balls at all those guys. We gotta get sharp throwing and catching, and when our offense catches up to the defense here at Florida, we're really going to be able to compete for SEC championships instead of just the divisions. I think Coach McElwain's done a super job winning 2 divisions, and the offense has pretty much struggled both years.
They're going to mark tracks down at about the 3-yard line. You know, because of some of the weapons you just talked about and some of the depth offensively, if they can get this quarterback thing figured out, it could be a really good offense here at Florida in 2017.
Well, we hope so. We certainly hope so. I know all the fans, coaches, we know the defense has really been solid, been very good. 5th in the nation, I think, last year. And those coaches on defense, Randy Shannon and those guys, they do a super job. And I think the new offensive coaches are going to help a lot this year also.
Here they are inside the red zone trying to pound it in, and they do. There's a touchdown.
Coach, it seems to me that the offensive line is much improved this season. I was telling the guys that I really like the new offensive line coach, Brad Davis. It seems that he has this group playing with the kind of spirit and competition, knocking guys back and getting movement up front that's going to help them in the red zone this year.
Kevin, I was watching a scrimmage last Friday, a week ago, and usually at the scrimmages, all you could hear was the defensive coaches yelling and screaming, and I could hear the offensive line coach, Coach Davis, over there yelling and encouraging and really into the scrimmage last week. So it's made a huge difference, I believe.
And the extra point makes it 24-0 for the Orange. We thank you, Coach, for stopping up. The old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, joining us.
Yeah, glad to be with you guys.
P. Ryan with that last touchdown. Late in the 3rd quarter, back in Gainesville in a moment. Now they're estimating they had 48,000 here tonight. They got 46 last year, so maybe went over that with the crowd here tonight for the spring game. Well, more spring football for you Saturday, which is tomorrow here on the SEC ESPN Network. Ole Miss, their spring game at noon, then at 2. We're going to go to Auburn and Jordan-Hare for the A-Day game. And Mississippi State's maroon and white at 4. You know, I love when Steve Spurrier is around. It's so much fun to listen to him, and he never forgets a thing.
No.
He'll be talking about things from 30 years ago like they happened 10 minutes ago.
I was on the phone with him the other night, and he brought up 2 situations from my senior year that I had all but forgotten about. And tonight, you hear him recount the story from my freshman year. Just amazing.
And he never remembers, or never forgets, I should say, his recruiting classes, which you were a part of. And speaking of recruiting, this is how the SEC looked in 2017. Florida coming in at 13. Recruit daily or die. That's the motto for 54-year-old Jim McElwain. He likes his class.
It's a good class. And, you know, talking with him in the meetings, you know, we weren't necessarily wowed on signing day necessarily, but he made a great point. He said, look, if you take 12 of the guys that had already committed and they announced on signing day, then Gator fans would have been overjoyed at the guys that they got come signing day. But, you know, a lot of guys committed, a lot of great guys coming into this fall class.
And this is one of them, Kadarius Toney, true freshman out of 8 Mile, Alabama, dual threat quarterback. He's running the Orange offense now. They're going to give him easy play on the first snap with a handoff. Toney, great athlete. You talked about it at the top, Kevin. Really not a candidate to be the starter at quarterback come fall, but he could factor in as a wildcat or some other X factor to use his athleticism in this offense.
He reminds me of a young Greg Ward Jr. for the Houston Cougars, the kind of dual threat guy that has a type of athletic ability, but also if you give him the chance and develop him properly and you use his talent and use his arm strength, which he has a ton of, he could actually do a lot to hurt you. Just having to worry about that athletic component of a quarterback just changes the complexity of how you play defense against someone like that.
I think you'll definitely see a package for him at the quarterback position this year, but this is a guy that's very explosive, very quick first steps. So you got to find a way to get him on the field. You'll see him at some slot receiver. You'll probably even see him at some running back. He's a guy that can bring some explosivity to this offense.
Well, Jim McElwain said we might see him at running back tonight, but that was when we thought Mark Thompson wouldn't play as much as we've seen him play tonight. So it looks like he's just going to take snaps at quarterback. His first pass attempt comes up incomplete. That's intended for Jacob Messenger, who's competing for time in the wide receiver core. It'll be 4th down and the end of the 3rd quarter.
You see the arm strength there, but sometimes getting the right touch on the ball is more important than rifling it down to the receiver.
Fourth quarter still to come. Chance to look at some more players for Jim McElwain here at the Orange and Blue debut. We're making forecasts for the 2017 fall here in Gainesville. Well, before the game, our Kevin Carter was judging wings. You got some help there from Karen McElwain, Jim's wife. So what wings did you like?
I think I like them all. It's kind of really,
Shocker.
it's really hard to mess up wings. I mean, like you said, it's like pizza.
Yeah.
You know, even the wings that aren't flavored great, they're still wings. So
You got a tough job, I'm telling you.
I don't know how much I was judging. I was just eating wings.
Ooh, Kadarius Toney took a shot near the sideline. Ulrich, a little too aggressive. That's Nick Ulrich, number 38, the redshirt freshman safety, laying a hit on Kadarius Toney.
Nobody open downfield to see his athleticism there. Penalties before the snap and after the whistle. Those are the kind of penalties you have to avoid at all costs.
Well, you want to avoid them during the regular season, but especially when you're playing your own team.
Yes. Doesn't really reflect well
No.
when you're trying to show the coaches that you're the guy that wants to be counted on come fall.
We're underway here in the fourth quarter now, and that secondary, by the way, that is probably next to quarterback the one set of positions that probably is getting the most critical watch tonight as Toney takes off. Good competition for jobs in that secondary that'll probably continue through fall camp.
Competition is a good thing in terms of interposition play. When you're trying to find the best people to get on the field, one of the things about the great man that just left this press box, the head ball coach, he always preached competition. It was all about putting the best players on the field, and it made us better, and it made us play better as a team. Competition on a daily basis fuels you to win.
A walk-on freshman quarterback Nick Sproles is in there now. He's going to throw right away, and he's complete. It's out to Jacob Messenger, who gets loose and brought down at the 11-yard line.
Not to go back too much here, but how about Toney there? Brings that zone read game into play. I was standing next to Jim McElwain, and he really was high on this kid, talked about his competitive nature, talked about what he brings in that outside pressure he puts on defenses. I guarantee you we'll see a little bit more of that zone read as a nice change-up as we get into the fall.
That's just too easy. It's too easy when you have a guy that has that much talent and that much speed and that can make that much happen, can change the game.
And he comes back in, Kadarius Toney handing off. And Will Thomas getting that carry.
Toney's a little bigger than what I thought he'd be. This is a guy that should be in high school right now, coming here early as an early enrollee. He's got a little yoke to him, Kev.
Yeah.
How much does that help a guy coming in, right away in January as opposed to, waiting until fall camp?
It doesn't help your prom situation. You should be going to senior prom here soon,
Second down and 10, Toney. Third quarterback we're getting a look at tonight. He hands off again to Thomas. So, I guess we can assume that we can close the book on Felipe Franks' night as you look at the mid-year enrollees. Toney among them, Gamble, Telford, Houston, Campbell. They really like Gamble at tight end.
He's one of four guys that's really going to contribute. He's more of a guy that can do both things. He can put his hand on the ground, be a traditional tight end. Also can be the move guy. Kind of get off the line of scrimmage, more of an H-back position, catch out of the backfield. Very versatile for a young player. That shows a lot of maturity and a high football IQ at a young age.
And Clay, in all seriousness, these guys getting a chance to get in here, go through a spring already. You can see how much it benefited two of the quarterbacks tonight. Kyle Trask, Felipe Franks, both here last year. They look a lot better this year, obviously, than they did last year. Just more practice repetitions for those guys.
I don't know if we're going to see more of Franks tonight or not, but there is numbers up to now, 8 of 14, 119, and a touchdown. What stood out the most for you guys with him?
Well, I don't know about you, Chris, but I liked the way that he made decisions. He didn't try to go for too much early on. I think there were a couple of shots that he could have taken, and he chose to throw the more shallow, safer pass. And he didn't go downfield unless he had the exact look that he wanted. And I was really impressed on the touchdown pass to Callaway, where he used his eyes to move the defenders, and basically was going to take what they gave him. The defender broke up on on the shallow route to Powell, and he threw it right over his head, right into the end zone to Callaway. I was really impressed with his poise in the pocket tonight.
Exactly right. The poise tonight, much better than last year at this time, and we talked about getting an opportunity to feel more comfortable in this offense. I love the deep ball to Hammond early on, too. A little play action, one-on-one coverage on the outside, read the defense, and then dropped it in. Even if your guy's covered, throw the ball over his outside shoulder. The receiver can use his body to hold off that cornerback. Just a perfect throw and dropping it in there, 42 yards down the field, just like the coaches teach.
Well, spring football isn't a lot of time. It's 12 practices, 2 scrimmages, and a spring game. But I don't think there's any doubt, especially after what we've seen tonight, that Felipe Franks is the man most likely to start in September. Now, Luke Del Rio may end up having a say in that, as that pass is intercepted. Kadarius Toney picked off. No, that is a touchdown catch. Pardon me.
This is an area that the Gators have had trouble with, scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Kadarius Toney gives you that ability to buy time with his feet and make plays with his hands going downfield.
It's Nordman, the touchdown catch, number 44, Tucker Nordman.
The pressure that puts on a defense when a quarterback can extend the play, buy some time for his receivers to uncover. Really difficult for those guys in the secondary to defend for 5, 6, 7 seconds.
And that's Jorge Powell with the extra point.
Buying himself time, escapability, just a circus there. Finds the open receiver downfield. This is what you want to see out of a young quarterback in the red zone.
SEC Network Spring Football is brought to you by AT&T.
Back here in the swamp, Gainesville, Florida, alongside Chris Doering and Kevin Carter. Won some SEC titles back in the day. I'm Clay Matvick. It's 31-0 Orange. We've seen some pretty good stuff from the offense at times, especially when Felipe Franks was in there at quarterback. We were talking about recruiting too. The 2017 class ranked 13th overall in the country, 6th in the SEC. That's how good this conference is every year when it comes to recruiting. You can be 13th in the country,
yeah, look at it,
but only 6th in your league. 23 players total, 15 4-stars.
I didn't know if someone had messed up on the graphic. I mean, I
No,
think 13th overall in the nation, 6th in the SEC. Just a testament to how much talent is coming to the SEC to play football.
And Clay, you know who doesn't care about the rankings? Coach McElwain. Remember yesterday he said, hey, I'm just trying to recruit guys that fit our criteria. I think one thing that he really has been happy about is balancing out the roster. It felt like there was a disparity in terms of where they had recruited the previous guys they were left with. So they feel like they got that balanced out a little bit. And certainly the quality of player that they have now, as Kevin mentioned earlier, causing a little bit more competition at every position, which will obviously bring out the best.
Part of the balance to that roster with Kadarius Toney, he's a total changeup. He's a curveball. He's not the traditional quarterback. That's a coaching staff going out and getting one of the best athletes and finding a place for him within your offense. That's just smart. That just makes sense.
Kadarius Toney, the touchdown pass already. He's going to roll out to his right here after the play fake and dump it off short to Kamari Gamble. Another early enrollee out of Miami Southridge High School.
Tight ends are a quarterback's best friend, a utility guy that can just get in trouble, dump it off to your tight end.
Tight ends coach Greg Nord likes what he's got to work with. This group, 12 total touchdowns in the last 2 years. Do you think that the tight ends will have a bigger impact than what they've had the last couple of years?
A much bigger impact. Just in a way, these guys can help to round out a very talented receiving core, just to make this group complete from a receiving standpoint, to give you options in the passing game. You have the offensive line to protect the quarterback. You've got, a couple of different quarterbacks that can actually make things happen with their feet. But having different options in the passing game, being able to find the big bodies downfield and throw those 50-50 balls up and let them go up and get it. Let those guys, those tight ends position, those linebackers and safeties underneath and one-on-one coverage. That's the advantage that throwing to a tight end will give you within the passing game.
There's Gamble. The other tight ends that are going to likely make a big impact: Ciante Lewis, DeAndre Goolsby. Goolsby a senior, Lewis a junior. Goolsby came on strong late last year in the SEC title game and the bowl game. They hope that continues. 4th down and 1 here. They're going to run it. 1st down. And that is Thompson again. Inside the 40. Ball comes loose at the end, but they're going to whistle him down.
Got to hold on to the football. Even though he's down by contact there, you're already being labeled with a guy that puts the ball on the rug a little too much. Holding on to the football, proving that you got good ball security, should be his utmost goal tonight and moving forward as you get into fall camp.
Yeah, you can see it there on the replay, Chris. It did come out. He was down, but he did have a turnover in the first half, and that's something he doesn't want hanging around his neck going into the fall.
Look, this is football. Perception is reality. If you're the person who puts the ball on the turf and has that label, you can't ill afford to do that in any circumstance whatsoever.
Jordan Scarlett, when he was in the game, the primary running back, the feature back again this year, he looked pretty good. Of course, had a touchdown as well in the first half. As Tony keeps it, this is where he's really at his best with his feet. And he gets down to the 28-yard line. Let's go back to that last Thompson play. He was down, but I'll tell you, that's not great ball security, Kevin.
Not good ball security at all, but that's one of those plays that they would have to go back and review. In a real game, they'd be stopping the clock to take a look at that one.
Probably.
For sure.
You know what? Mark Thompson has the physical skills that you want. You look at Derrick Henry. A lot of people compared him to him before he got here on campus. He's a big physical guy, but didn't play against this type of competition in his first couple years in JUCO. So having to adjust to the speed and the strength of the guys that he's playing against now has been something that's been somewhat of a challenge. But he has the attributes to make plays. We saw him against Iowa in the Outback Bowl. Take a screen about 70 yards for a touchdown. The coaching staff said they have to find a way to put him in positions to be successful. But if you're not able to hold on the football, if coaches can't trust you, it makes it difficult to put you in the football game.
Chris, at this point, do you see P. Ryan being the number 2 back?
I think P. Ryan had a great year last year, especially being a true freshman. He's the number 2 guy in my mind. But I think you see all 3. Kevin mentioned it earlier. In this league, you got to be able to have 3 running backs, and this team certainly has 3 guys that have shown they're more than capable.
So when you have a guy that's as big and as bruising as Mark Thompson is, you got to give him a chance to do something within your offense, because he presents a different type of challenge for opposing defenses than Jordan Scarlett and P. Ryan.
Nordman couldn't make the catch there. It's 4th down for the Blue. And Eddie Pinheiro, who's got a very big leg, is going to come out and attempt a field goal here. He was a YouTube sensation before coming to Florida because of his 70-yard field goals on video. It didn't attempt any beyond 54 last year, but this is a pretty long one of 50 yards. And it's off the upright. He had the distance, but he pushed it, and it hit the right upright.
A lot of leg there, because that thing hit that upright, and it was moving as it hit that upright. This thing is going to be good from about 60. You see where it hit the upright there? He hit it on the upper half of the upright. That ball was struck well, but just a little bit off kilter as far as the aim goes.
Well, we got more spring football for you tomorrow here on the SEC Network. We're going to have Ole Miss at noon, Auburn spring game at 2, and Mississippi State at 4. So you can get real comfortable tomorrow in front of the TV and learn a lot about a good portion of the SEC West tomorrow. Again, the quarterbacks leading the storylines in those 3 spots as they are here in Gainesville.
All this talk about quarterback play, I guess it's important.
That bothers you, doesn't it?
When I'm looking at Auburn, I'm thinking about, man, this is Kevin Steele, the defensive coordinator, 2nd year with this defense. I'm thinking about other things. But I guess Fitzgerald is kind of a big story.
Kind of a big deal.
Mississippi State, and he had a good year, so we'll talk about him.
It's going to be 3rd team versus 3rd team to run out the clock. With just over 3 minutes to go, walk-on quarterback Nick Sproles is in there out of Winter Park, Florida. We're not going to see a 2-minute drill or anything funky like that going away here. 31-0 Orange. And
see, Clay.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Kevin never had to take part in the 3-on-3s. This was my life early on. I was a big part of the late game situations here in my first couple springs.
Well, it worked out pretty well for you.
I can't complain at all. I'm very thankful, but just wanted to make note that Kevin had his shoulder pads off by this point in the game.
I can't argue with you there, Chris. I can't argue with you there.
Doring's got a touchdown. Doring's got a touchdown. These words still ring throughout Gainesville. This is one of the nice things about spring ball, too. The access that the fans have to the players. And we talked about it with Jim McElwain this week. This is a celebration of Florida football as much as anything else.
It is. It gives the fans a chance to come out and see their team that they love so much, and they'll live and breathe and die and eat and drink and, bleed orange and blue. This is, there's a drought, man, from January all the way to the fall. There's no football, so the fans are starving for this. That's why there's 46,000 fans in the stands coming out to see the Gators. But I like this part, though. This 3-on-3 time, get a chance to take a look at some of the younger players. This is your future right here. This is where some of these guys that we've never had a look at. Forsyth, the right tackle, is in the game now. Kind of a project down the line. These are names that you could see in years to come starring for the Gator offense and defense, respectively.
Well, 4th down here. And it is Kadarius Toney back in there at quarterback. Inside handoff, and it's Will Thomas who's going to be ripped down by Antonius Clayton. There's a Tebow jersey. Of course, the former Heisman Trophy winner is now a baseball star. How about last night? Home run in his first minor league at-bat of the season. The Columbia Fireflies in Columbia, South Carolina. Opposite field dong. How about that?
Got to be strong to go opposite field.
The other at-bat's not so good. He had a few strikeouts, I understand. But Tim Tebow,
he has a flair for the dramatic.
Still a great story.
He has a flair for the dramatic. Of course he had a home run in his first at-bat in minor league baseball this summer.
Do you think he climbs the ladder in the minor leagues, or is he going to die out fairly soon?
I don't know.
I would never count that guy out, that's for sure.
Exactly.
All right, real quick, biggest takeaway from tonight.
The offensive line has improved. They look better in the red zone, and Kadarius Toney is a curveball for this offense. You got to find a way to get him on the field.
Chris, that is exactly what you've been talking about with Toney.
Yeah, it's a great changeup kind of there. As Kevin mentioned, the ability to run that zone read, put pressure on the defense on the outside. Not only now do you have to prepare with guys that can throw the football, but bringing that package in with Toney really makes you have to waste repetitions in practice running against a quarterback that's explosive like that, running the zone read that you may not necessarily prepare for otherwise.
And it's pretty obvious how they want to use him going forward. He only attempted 5 passes tonight. He was complete on 3 of them. I mean, the lion's share of what he did, especially effectively, was with his feet.
It was, but in the red zone, you see the changeup. You see the ability to extend the plays, and you see him finding the open receiver. That's a nightmare for a defense. And in the back end, to have to hold your guys and defend for more than 4 or 5 seconds back there in the back end, it puts a lot of pressure on the defensive backfield as well.
So Jim McElwain addressing the group after the 31-0 win for the Orange. That reflects some pretty good play from the first team offense at times behind Felipe Franks, who got the first snaps tonight. So that gives you the indication that he's leading that race to be the starting quarterback in the fall. Early on, he showed some signs of being pretty good.
Good on the play action pass, good patience, getting the ball in his playmaker's hands. You see him getting the ball to Callaway, Josh Hammond down the field, getting it to Callaway here in space. Just getting the ball, making good decisions, letting the playmakers around you make plays. We talked about the amount of talent that there is coming into this spring. In every other position other than quarterback, there's so much more around than they've had in the past 2 years. That's going to make a profound difference on the performance of the quarterback, whoever it is, under center.
How about your opinion on Felipe Franks, Chris?
I love Felipe Franks. I mean, this is a guy that we talked about having all the skills coming in, the strong arm, 6'6", has the over the offensive line, but really had not been consistent to this point in time, even from day-to-day in practice through this. You'd see him make some great plays and then come back and make some terrible plays. But tonight I thought he did a good job. Missed a couple passes early on, but seemed to get better as the game went on and more comfortable in the flow of the football game.
31-0, Orange over Blue in the Orange and Blue debut for 2017. Jim McElwain talking to the group. We're hoping to talk to him in a minute when we come back to Gainesville. That's it for now. We're going to be back in a few moments here in the Swamp, but now we're going to send you to the studio. Peter Burns and Marcus Spears in SEC Now. Guys?